All right, one of Boston's newest big men, Luka Garza, is in the house today. Meet View from the Rafters. View from the Rafters. Meet Luka Garza. We appreciate you coming on today. What's it been like just settling into Boston, man? We were just talking before we started recording. You're living downtown in that area. How are you enjoying it?
I'm loving it. I love the city.
We're not going to tell the people exactly where you're living.
Yeah, exactly. I'll give them my address right
now.
But, I'm from Washington, D.C., so I'm from the East Coast. So it's
Yep.
kind of really nice to get back to the East Coast. I spent the last 8 years of my life in the Midwest. So I love the Midwest, but, I'm an East Coast guy. So it's nice to get back in a big city. And already just the food, the people, and obviously the team and the organization, it's been amazing.
You mentioned food. You got to tell us, what's the food? What's the go-to so far?
Ooh, there's a lot of spots. I'd say right now probably my favorite spot is Lola 42.
Yes.
Little sushi. Yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
good spot.
All right.
I was there last night.
I'm not a big sushi guy, so I can't join this conversation.
Yeah.
What is the transition like for you? You don't like sushi?
No, I'm not a sushi guy. I'm sorry.
We got other options.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll cook the fish for you.
Okay.
There's no fish at all.
I can't eat raw foods. I just
Boston
can't do it.
is not the
But
place
okay,
for
maybe
you.
I'll
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
For you, maybe I'll go and I'll
Right.
get some cooked sushi.
There you go.
All right.
What is the transition now that you've done it a few times, coming into a new city, kind of trying to get the lay of the land, figuring out where's the best place to be relative to the practice facility versus the arena, and just kind of finding your way?
Yeah, for sure. I think when you're younger in the league, it's a little different than, now this is year 5 for me, so I've kind of earned a level up. I've always kind of lived right by the practice facility and kind of prioritized that. But now that I've gotten older and just kind of, want to enjoy the city, especially when I'm moving somewhere new.
Yeah.
I wanted to be, in it and be in the city and, moving here by myself too. So, that made it cool, and it's still nice drive here, and I can get here anytime. So.
Nice drive here. You probably hit some weird intersections and the roundabouts
Yeah,
and
you
all
like
that
roundabouts?
stuff.
The driving here,
it can get a little strange.
I can't understand some of the things.
It was
that happen.
definitely built by the Europeans when they came over. It doesn't make much sense.
Well, no offense, the drivers too. It's like everyone just wants to leave their car in the middle of the road and put the lights on and think that's okay. I don't understand. I have to go around.
I don't know
everybody.
about that. I take on a Joe Mazzulla mentality when I'm driving, and it's take
really?
no prisoners, create chaos, war mentality.
All right. Warning
Let's go.
to stay away from Abby on the road.
Yeah.
You got to be aggressive out there.
It's
Take
true.
control.
It's true. No, that
Own
in
your
the battles.
space.
Yeah.
you can get bullied out there real quick.
Yes, exactly.
I've been in the Midwest too long. I was driving
Yeah,
and being too
slow,
nice. I'm
People are
I'm sitting
waving at you as
I'm
you
sitting
drive
at a stop
by.
sign for an hour because people are just running
No.
right through it. So.
No. Yeah.
So when you talk about being here, obviously we just talked about moving into the city, but organizationally, what are you noticing that are some differences here after being here for a good chunk of time now, differences here to what you've experienced so far in your first 2 organizations you were with? Detroit and Minnesota, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, first I'd say just expectation. When you walk in the practice facility and you see all the banners, that just carries a message in itself of just what needs to happen here, and it's to win. So I think this is probably the first organization that's had that kind of expectation. And obviously it's the most championships in the NBA, so it's the only organization that's going to be like that at that level. So that's number one. But I think from the top down, it's just there's so many incredible people, and it's a lot different in many different ways, and I think just the way Joe is, the way he communicates, and the details that are kind of put into motion here, and obviously with Brad and his beliefs and how everything goes, it's a cool mix that they have going on.
Brad has mentioned, and you talked about it too, just he's had his eye on you. He's watched you and your career pretty closely. Even from the college game. What were those conversations with him like, and why did you want to come to Boston?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. People always tell you that every moment matters. I had a draft workout here and, interviews and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was one of many. And I didn't think too much of it. Didn't hear much from Boston on draft night. But, here you come 4 years later. And, some of those meetings, some of those interviews meant a lot more than, even I thought in the moment.
So he brought those up to you?
I think everyone kind of talked about. I had a couple of people come talk to me about my workout and stuff like that. So that was interesting. I think Brad had watched me even before that, and had his eye on me in college as well.
Yeah.
And then just kind of seeing, how I approached every single opportunity, going through in Minnesota and even in Detroit. But those initial conversations for me, it was, the chance to come here and play for this franchise, but also the opportunity that was here was something that I haven't had in my career yet. I've been fortunate to be on really, really good teams, but especially with a lot of great big men and loaded front courts. So I've kind of been behind the 8 ball in terms of opportunities to play as much. So that was a priority for me when I had the chance to go into free agency, was finding a place that has a belief in me and a plan in place, but also an opportunity. I wanted to get on the floor and show what I can do consistently. And I think that's something they were talking about from day one, was like, we've seen, what you can do in pieces and at different points. We love the mentality you bring, and I think they wanted me to add to the culture, the championship culture that's been here. I think there's been so many amazing guys and examples of guys that come in with the right mindset every single day. And I knew I could shoulder that and be that, because that's who I am in general. So I knew I had that part taken care of, but it was definitely a priority to be able to get on the floor.
When you talk about those other guys that have kind of like set the example here, one guy who stands out who's now in San Antonio is Luke Kornet, right? Like, he came in here as, I think he might have been Exhibit 10 or definitely a two-way at times, and then now he goes through this development program, winds up with a pretty significant contract out in San Antonio. As you went into free agency and you started talking here, was that in your mind at all, of like seeing someone like that, a big man, come through this development program and turn into what he is now? Like, is that something you as a free agent think about?
100%. And as a person, as a player, I'm always looking towards example of people who do it the right way and kind of go through that grind of, being in the G League and, make that example for me and kind of lead the path. And, I think I had a couple great examples in Minnesota with Naz Reid, guys like Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who were G League guys, or Nickeil, who was kind of on his last leg with Utah and getting traded to Minnesota. And, at that point of his career, he was in a little bit of a limbo, but he took advantage of the opportunity and obviously just got paid this summer. And, we'll never go back to that point he was at. And, I think Luke Kornet is another great example, guy who was in the league, played for a lot of good teams, but then kind of, had to work his way through the G League to get back into the league. And, obviously he's a great example of how he carried himself. And obviously the people, love him here. And, he was a smart IQ guy. And so I think there's a lot of similarities that I see in terms of just the way he approached the game. Obviously we're different in a lot of ways as well. But I think, that's anytime I can look at an example like that and see that, for me, that just means that it's possible for me too. And that's something that I embody and bring in with me every single time I walk on the court, is knowing that if I take advantage of this opportunity, that I can continue to develop and put myself in a great position.
I guess what I'm getting at is, like, not necessarily like the people that you've seen take those steps from where they were to where they are now, but like this particular development program has produced that.
For sure.
Like, how much do you and your agent kind of talk about that stuff? Because Luke's not the only one. Sam Hauser, there's a pretty long list of guys
absolutely.
who have really taken off.
For sure. I mean, this organization has built so many guys from that, from the G League and just building them up over time, or picking guys that, they bring in that, kind of weren't, coveted free agents, and then kind of turning them into, guys that go into free agency as like a huge target. And so I think, that's all, based on, their development plan and what they do. And I knew that as soon as I got here, just, working with Coach D-Mac and Coach Craig and the development staff here, right away, just they had a plan for me. And, this is what we see you as, this is what we see you can be, these are the areas you can improve on. And for me, that's absolutely what I want. Just knowing, that there's a plan in place, but also that they have, ideas, suggestions, all this kind of stuff, and they're going to push me and put me in the best position possible. And I think, the thing that, is different about here is, I think different organizations, sometimes you won't get put in the best positions, especially if you're not a priority guy. But I think here, no matter who you are, 1 through 18, when you get on the court, you're going to be put in the best position possible for you. You're not just fitting into a mold of another player. And that's one difference that I've noticed here that I haven't really experienced in any other place in my career.
That's cool to hear.
But you and that entire group in the front court, largely unproven, but you guys are putting in the work as well. To a man, you guys came in early. I mean, some as early as August, and have been working together to get the most out of those opportunities once you're on the floor. How unique is that, and how has it been developing that chemistry with that group?
It's been awesome. I think for us three, we're all at kind of similar points in our career. Guys that have made the most of a lot of opportunities, but haven't gotten consistent opportunities at the level that we want to. And so we all have a big chip on our shoulder and a lot of motivation. We come in every single day with an approach and a mindset that, we want to show that we can be, a front court that can, be among the best, and that we can, anchor the paint. We can get our teammates involved with screening and different things like that, and then obviously show our individual ways of how we can impact the game. And all of us bring different things to the table, and I think we embrace those things and kind of uplift each other to make sure that we all are going towards a common goal, and that's winning. And I think that's the thing that's emphasized here in this organization so much, is that team success is what brings the individual success for every single person. And so that's been a lot of fun. And also they're great guys too. Xavier and me have been going at it since high school, and NBPA top 100 camp at the University of Virginia. It was probably the first time I matched up against him, but seeing him in AAU and the EYBL, then at Michigan State, just battling with him, but he's one of my favorite competitors, guys I've ever been against, and Neemi is the same way too. We probably haven't matched up each other as much as me and X, but anytime I got the chance to get on the court and go against him, I've loved that competitive spirit he has and the energy he brings to the game.
How much pressure are you guys feeling to be that for this team, considering the losses and the changes that the Celtics went through this summer?
I think a lot of the pressure goes away when you spend years kind of waiting for that opportunity. We've been chomping at the bit to get out there and get on the floor and watching guys in front of us, knowing that we can help impact, winning every single night, and not getting the chance to. I think that removes a lot of the pressure, just knowing that we're going to get out there and do it, and perform at the level that we know we can, and just have a high level of motivation and energy every single time we step on the court, and use that chip on our shoulder that we know that this is an opportunity of a lifetime for all three of us. And so we're going to make sure that we take advantage of it. And with that, it's hard to feel the pressure.
That's impressive that you can not feel the pressure in Boston.
Yeah,
that's impressive. We'll see if that stays the whole way.
I mean, you do have an upbringing in your family where there's a championship mentality. And
insane.
There is a level.
Let's just say it's
like
incredible.
Like you mentioned, yes, a standard that is required just to kind of show up to Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
100%.
You must be a D1 athlete or a professional athlete. Like, how many is it? Like 8 or 9 family members were either D1 or pro in some sport?
It's a lot,
Mostly basketball?
Yeah. My mother and her twin sister, my aunt, were both professional basketball players. My uncle was a professional basketball player. My dad played in college. Grandpa played in college. All 3 of my cousins are pros right now. And one played in the States for college. The other 2 just went right to being pros. And then my grandfather, my mother's side, he was actually a professional soccer player, goalie. And he's probably the most...
I was just counting on my fingers. I'm pretty sure that's 10.
He's the most legendary of all of us. And, he passed, when I was in college. But his example, especially when I was young, just how he carried himself as, a champion, as a legend of the game, in Europe, was an example to me, all my cousins, and everyone in our family, that we wanted to look towards someone like that, could be that humble, carry himself in that way, and also win and, at a high level.
Luka, what does Thanksgiving look like? I mean, they're all international, so I know Thanksgiving isn't necessarily the thing. But what do family get-togethers look like? Do you guys get out on the court?
Well, when I was younger, we used to go to Europe every summer, and kind of everyone would be there. And so that was when we were either playing basketball. My grandfather had a cabin, and he built a basketball court, like a little, hoop,
nice.
and
that's awesome.
On a tree, and he put like a basket, chain net, all of that. So we would play outside, me and my cousins.
So that's the secret to getting to the pros, is playing on the chain link net. Yeah.
And there's 3 of them, so 2 on 2. Probably me and the younger one against the 2 older ones. They wanted to beat up on us, but we do that. We played soccer. We do a bunch of different, games, activities, and all kind of challenging each other. And so that was always awesome growing up. And then in my household, my dad held a level of standard for me, to approach every single day with that kind of mindset. And I think that's how I have it now, was just, he was at everything. He was one of those dads that was, he didn't miss an AAU practice. Like, he was at every single day I had something going on with basketball, he was right there watching and supporting me, but also, setting an expectation level that I don't take any single day for granted any time that I, go on the court. So that helped me, an extreme amount. So, he's still a vital role in my basketball career. It comes to pretty much, he'll be at every game this year probably.
That's awesome.
And, and my mom will come as much as he can. So.
What was it like on draft night? I mean, when I have to feel as a parent when they put in all that time and resources and effort and everything to help to bring you to where you are, and then on draft night, like you hear your name called. What was that like sharing that moment with them?
Yeah, draft night is, it's a
roller coaster,
mixed bag of emotions, for me, being a guy that I felt like, I could have gone earlier in the draft. I felt like my workouts and, my college career kind of reflected that, but, it just didn't happen for me. And, getting a call at the 52nd pick, and, I kind of was told on the phone by Troy Weaver, who, obviously gave me my first opportunity in the league. I will be forever thankful for him and what he did for me. But, the call was, we don't really have room, but, if you play well, we'll make room. And so, it was kind of a motivation right away to get to Summer League, to go play, to show that I deserve to be here in this league. So it was kind of a mix. Obviously you take that second to hear your name and be like, wow, I'm in the NBA. But now it's like, let's go get it. Let's go get it. Let's go after it. But, I think for my parents, especially, that moment was huge. And, I think for me, I didn't get to enjoy it, probably as much as I should have. But, I'm glad I didn't, because I went into Summer League with the right mindset, and, everything I did since then led me to this moment right here. So.
Well, we've got to wrap up, but I can't do it without asking you about this, because this is insane when I looked it up and I saw it when I was researching for this conversation. Your sophomore year of college, you had a surgery to remove what, like, when I was like, that's got to be a typo. Hold on. Tell the people what happened when you were a sophomore.
Yeah, so honestly, it started back in my senior year of high school. I kind of noticed there was a, bump in my abdomen, and I didn't know, what it was. And, I kind of asked some questions, and, also just, being a tough-minded player, I didn't complain. I didn't feel much pain there. I just kind of noticed it was a little weird. And, one of the summer going into my sophomore year, I started to notice pain in that area, and we did a bunch of tests, and there was a cyst about the size of a collegiate volleyball.
Oh my gosh!
And it was like 10 pounds, and I
like,
lost.
What? That's crazy.
I lost double-digit pounds in surgery, but it was connected to my spleen, and so.
Oh my God!
Wow, I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I'm very thankful to God, thankful to everything that Before that, I hadn't gotten elbowed or anything in that area, because if it had ruptured, I would have died on the spot.
Jeez.
So, I'm very blessed, and that moment kind of changed a lot for me, and it was the first time the game had ever been put in question in terms of how does this surgery go? Am I going to lose my spleen too? Am I going to miss the whole year? Am I going to have to put basketball aside for a while, or what is it going to be? So that changed my perspective on a lot of things. I was, like I said, was very blessed and favored to be at the University of Iowa. One of the best surgeons kind of in this kind of specialty, in this realm, was at the Children's Hospital. And so he was able to perform the surgery, and everything went well. And, I think I didn't miss a game that year. 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, I was there. And, just speaking about my dad, obviously I had to stay in the hospital, and at first I couldn't really walk or do much. And, my dad stayed with me and was literally like, carrying me to the shower, making food for me, doing everything, and just there with me every single step of the way. My whole family came and stayed with me in the hospital. All my teammates, coaches came and visited me, and it was a big moment for me in a lot of different ways, and I gained a lot of perspective and a lot of gratefulness and gratitude, and helped me understand that, to enjoy and make the most of every single moment you get.
Well, I got to say that when I read this, when I was researching, all of those details were not in there. I didn't know that you went through all that. That's an incredible story. And I'm glad that you were able to come out on the other side. And now you're sitting here with us on View from the Rafters.
We're grateful.
Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Congrats that you've made it back and that you've made it to this spot. We can't wait to watch you all season long, hopefully taking advantage of this incredible opportunity that you got.
100%. Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, Luka. We appreciate it, man. Good luck this season.
Yep. Thank you.